Yay! Hi everyone, I'm Ursula Goulet and I'm here with Nicholas Scott. This is the first interview for Soul Mothering Conversations, Claiming Our Core Desire. And we're gonna talk about I'm gonna ask Nicholas questions about what his journey has been around his identity as a queer person, sexuality, gender, all of those things. And this series is meant as an offering for all queer folks, all humans on their journey to real understanding and embodiment, because so often, when we start out, we're like, okay, well, I think I might be this, and I think I like that. And over time that evolves and we understand ourselves differently. And so to hear the stories of many different LGBTQIA people gives us another kind of roadmap with lots of options and inspiration and puzzle pieces that we just can't figure out on our own. So thank you so much, Nicholas, for being my first person. I just adore you. And so I'm super, super happy to have you here with me.
For having me.
I'm going to read Nicholas's bio because he is just like an awesome person, an awesome healer, and then let him introduce himself before we go forward. So Nicholas Scott is a certified music therapist as of the spring of 2020. Nicholas holds credentials in music therapy at the master's level and qualifications in neurologic music therapy. Ooh, I want to hear more about that. Music has always been an important part of Nicholas's life, with vocals being one of his main instruments. This has evolved to include the trumpet, piano, and guitar. Nicholas realized from a young age his love of music and is grateful for the past few years of study in musical and therapeutic techniques. He enjoys intuitively expressing and exploring music through practice, improvisation, performance, and composition. Nicholas knows that music can be a resource to draw upon when life is challenging and a force for systemic change. Each person has strengths that can be nurtured into a resource. Each person is unique in their experience, and that it is important to take this into consideration during the therapeutic process. Music is dynamic and has the unique ability to bring people together and establish community. Music also works deeply in the body to rehabilitate and restore functioning. Finally, music acts as a medium of creative, emotional, and spiritual expression. Other practices that have influenced Nicholas's path are psychic, mediumship, divination, palmistry, and Reiki. He came into the journey of learning the intuitive arts and energy healing in 2012, alongside his journey with music. In the process, he has given countless readings and healing sessions that were said to provide closure, insight, and much needed reassuring messages from those who have passed away and spirit. He enjoys providing people with messages that uplift and bring healing. Nicholas honors and connects to his sensitivity and tunes into the universal frequencies of spirit and source. This allows him to connect and offer messages that are needed at the present moment. Nicholas is excited and grateful to further support people in their lives with his unique and eclectic skill set in music therapy, psychic mediumship, divination, palmistry, and Reiki. Yay, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
What?
I said thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So before we dive into the questions, how else would you like to introduce yourself? Yeah, to share with everybody.
Yeah, well, you said a lot of everything. My business, I recently opened and launched a business called Music and Soul. And that's where I take everything that's really been said in the bio and amalgamate it to offer different services to people. I do identify as non-binary, so I find myself loving to express myself masculine-wise, but also feminine. Mm-hmm. And I like to say I'm pretty gay. So, there's a spectrum, and I find that for the most part, 90% of the time I'm into men. And then there's that small little percentage that, if I wanted to make a baby, I could. So that's why I say I'm pretty gay. Um, and it's definitely been a journey, and it's nice to come and be at a place in my life where I feel comfortable and stable in my being.
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful. Thank you. What are your pronouns?
Yeah, so I go by he and him.
Cool. And I go by she and her. Thank you, hun. Okay, well, let's dive into our questions. So the context, of course, of these questions is on the journey to embodying your authentic gender and sexuality, which I call core desire, in this place that's like an essence inside of us that may have different words at different times, but when we land there, we can kind of feel ourselves, and it's in connection to the earth, to our body, of course, to our community. So all these questions are about that journey. So the first one is, on this journey, how have you rewoven your body, your mind, and your spirit with the sacred, however you define that?
Okay. Um, Honestly, I have used music a lot. I've used
Mhm.
my voice. I've used drumming. You know, I started delving into aligning everything when I was, it's a decade ago, 10 years ago. And it all started because I went into the creek and I put my feet in the water and I asked Spirit, I said, I need help. Something's off with me and I just feel so alone in my experience. And lo and behold, someone walked in. That's just a few minutes after I said my intention, and had tobacco in their hand and introduced me to the drum circle. And since then, um, I would attend a weekly drumming circle, and I learned a lot from that community. They were, everyone present was older than me, and I appreciated that because I really got to gain a lot of different wisdom and insight from the group, but also just nurturing that connection to the divine through my drum and through that community was really important for me.
Beautiful. I love it. I remember you telling me about the drum circle in
Mhm.
conversations past. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, heartbeat, right? That heartbeat. Yeah. Okay. So, of course, there could be a lot of answers to this, but what are like some salient stories or histories, images or symbols that have inspired and guided you on your path?
Mm. So I'm Slavic. I That's something else I identify as because I was born in Ukraine, and it's really interesting to own Ukrainian pagan culture because it's almost non-existent right now. Like there's a resurgence in it,
Mhm.
um, but definitely bringing forward like the embroidery, the music. Yesterday I celebrated um, Veles Day, and Veles was the god of music and the underworld and everything. So it was just really nice to honor that aspect of being Slavic other than being in the Christian church.
Yeah.
Because I find that, and this is a whole nother topic, but with my experience being Slavic and gay, the two didn't always meet eye to eye.
Yeah.
And so it's been really nice recently to come to terms with, yeah, I'm Slavic, but I'm also pretty gay. And I have,
Mhm.
I'm going to embrace our culture. And so I would use makeup as well to embrace the feminine aspect.
Mhm.
And I yeah, I showed people that it's okay because a lot of people in the Slavic community have trouble expressing their queerness or their homosexuality.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I love your makeup whenever you're posting pictures or I see you in a video on TikTok. I'm always like, yeah. like one of those, we need all those little moments. We need like these little moments of happiness to your day. So just know whenever I see you and whatever your makeup du jour is, it always brings like a little sparkle. So yeah. Beautiful. And it's a complicated thing, as you're saying, right? To connect back to roots that don't feel welcoming, at least in their extant version, So I think it's courageous, and it really is an offering to other folks who maybe want to, of that same root, to express themselves and feel like they don't have to split off so much, because that's not good for us humans to split off. Doesn't work. We do the best we can, right? But ultimately, yeah. So next one. How have you learned to listen to the wisdom of your body instead of, dismissing it or shaming it, or, all the other things we do when it's.
I think it's so important to pay attention to things that make you feel uncomfortable. Right? So for me, for the longest time, I would have discomfort in my chest. I would have like the panic attacks. And I would try to avoid them through like sexual behavior or, avoidant behavior. And so for me, when I finally started to just meditate and sit with the uncomfort, sit with any grief that I was holding, it was very monumental. And I didn't actually get to do that until I had my own space, because when I moved out of my home to go to school in Montreal, that was when a lot of the old trauma and everything really started to surface, because I was no longer suppressing it. So again, nature's always been a phenomenal resource for me, music and nature, because I'll go out into nature and I'll sing my heart out, I'll wail, I'll do everything I need to do, pound the earth if I need to, and get it all out.
Seriously, yeah, just get it out. We need to get it out for sure.
And I find after doing that ceremony or that work, what happens is you're able to kind of come into a sense of alignment again. And also teachings of Reiki really helped me out as well, because there's a concept in Reiki that you can send healing energy to your past self or even to your future self. And so for me, whenever something from the past comes up, it's actually me saying, I think to myself, okay, there's a part of me that's still stuck in the past. I need to sit with that part and I need to love it. And there's a Celine Dion song, "You Love Me Back to Life." That song. That's
yeah. I really love that frame, Nicholas, because and like when I'm working with people, one of the ways that I will frame sometimes, like when we're healing, like the way you talked about, like, okay, once I had my own space, in so many ways, I could start to feel these things, right? And I don't think we generally understand that that's often what happens. And so as we're healing, so we can feel like, oh, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling good, and then something will pop up and it can feel really confusing, I think, sometimes. And what I say is like, well, you were in a safe enough place to heal another piece. And it's like a bubble that was like sort of stuck in the mud and it got dislodged. And it's rising up through you. And as it's rising up through you, you feel it. And part of your brain goes, oh shit, I don't want to feel that. Well, I thought I was doing better. And it's like, it's okay to just like let it move through. But I love that too, like the sitting with and the sending back and the holding, offering that to ourselves because we couldn't do it before. I love that frame.
And going from my palmistry roots, something that you can actually look for in your palms if you're suppressing emotion
Yeah.
is this area here will become red and pink and inflamed.
Okay.
So if that's ever red and inflamed for you, it
Yeah.
means that I like to call that part the plane of Mars or
Uh-huh.
the volcano of the hand. It's where when
Uh,
you keep suppressing everything, it turns out red because it's like you got anger, you got something that you need to deal with here. Yeah, that just came to mind. So
I love it. I love it. I mean, you're right. We're taught to be so disconnected from our bodies, but as we start to come back and learn to, read our body and understand our own body and be friends,
yeah,
all these little different ways of looking and feeling and seeing, oh, like it's like a tell. Like maybe your conscious mind can't fully grok up. You're like, oh, when I'm doing this, I know something's going on.
yeah,
And then moving towards listening and listening more till there's more coherence, right?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Okay, next one. So, how have you learned to navigate life and relationship from pleasure and connection instead of fear and isolation?
Mm. See, for me, that's interesting because the two were quite connected for a long time.
Mhm.
Where, as far as me expressing myself sexually, I didn't always feel safe at home
Mhm.
or acknowledged in being who I was. So, now in a lot of the gay community and overall social media doesn't. It's not only gay community, but
Yeah.
there's all these apps, and
Right.
there's all these different ways to meet people, but the connection is not always there. So, ironically, I found myself wanting to find connection with someone, but then at the end of the experience, feeling lonely and
Mhm.
isolated in that.
Mhm.
And it's not until now that, okay, I moved to Atlantic Coast and now I'm starting to regain my power in experiencing pleasure for myself where what does bring me pleasure. It doesn't just need to be sexual pleasure.
Yeah.
It could be, oh, it felt really good, just singing. Like the other day I was singing and it just released so much tension in my jaw, and
Mm.
just being present for that release of tension was very nice. or
Yeah.
or just having those moments of clarity. um So it's very similar to, I think the other question for me is that the remedy for the isolation and loneliness piece has definitely been to actually sit in isolation,
Mhm.
but with myself.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I actually don't feel as lonely anymore.
Right. So that thing where you can sounds like, where you say like you can be lonely in a crowd full of people, or you could be alone, but with your right there. It's not just like aloneness doesn't always mean lonely, and
Exactly.
vice versa. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. It sounds like it feels like a big part of that for you was again having your own another experience of having your own space and like the freedom to be like present and feel safe there and be with yourself in that space. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm a lot closer to nature. Nature's just in my backyard. Um,
Mhm.
and I do live with roommates, but my roommates are very open to me being who I am and they advocate for me. If I were to go into a public space wearing makeup, I know my roommate would have my back and would, which also gives me the confidence to stand up for myself as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not alone in that and being who I am. And it feels safe. Safety is such a big part of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and just as like a side note, for anyone listening who does not have the capacity and their privilege to, have their own place, or, if you're still living with family because you have to because of economic reasons, or in whatever situation because of that, like, it's okay. Like, I really, like, these concerns are still really real about being who we are. Your safety is really important. So I just want you to hear that you are enough, and we're cheering for you. And this is why we're having these conversations as, like, lifelines and reassurance, and that it's complicated, that
Yeah.
it's complicated. And that's not any individual's personal fault. It's dealing with this very wide world of human beings who believe a lot of different things, not of all which are loving and kind. So, yeah. Okay, next question. What does erotic vitality mean to you, and how do you cultivate that?
Mm. I'll be honest, that's a new term.
I mean, if you want to ask me any questions about that, but you can also just, like, take that in and see what that feels like to you, right? Because
Mhm. Erotic vitality. So what I get from the two words is eros, pleasure, erotic, what brings you pleasure. But then the vitality is, maintaining it in a healthy way,
Mhm.
or maintaining it. And yeah, I'll be honest, it's interesting because being someone who's single at the moment, it's like, um sometimes there's so much pressure to explore that aspect of pleasure with a partner.
Mhm.
So I think when it comes to, like, myself, um, I think just being really honest with what you enjoy,
Mhm.
being authentic with it. I've had different experience throughout my life, and I've learned what I've enjoyed and what I didn't.
Mhm.
And I've learned to really be honest with that. Um, Especially if, let's say, I end up meeting a partner and we're going through a sexual experience, and then at one point, oh, I'm not liking this as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
Uh, you have the right to say no. So, for me, it's about preserving, um, what does bring you pleasure, and protecting it and nourishing it,
Mm.
so that when you are with yourself, or you with someone else, it can be a positive experience.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Um, what brings you gender euphoria?
Mm. Honestly, it's just like I was just recently watching RuPaul's Drag Race. So for me, I love watching people bend the limits of what gender is. And I think it's so important to see and witness because, um, for so long, I think people have been so limited to thinking that this is this and this is that. But I just really love seeing gender now becoming more of a spectrum and being authentic to that. Um, so yeah, watching RuPaul.
Nice. um, so, thinking back on your journey so far, what do you want to, like, honor and celebrate about your journey, about yourself?
Yeah, I would say my resilience, but also the courage that I mustered up to say no to like different people who were trying to tell me who to be.
Yeah.
Eventually, I had to say no. And that was actually a very positive thing because did it get rocky? Yes. But each time I maintained my boundary or seeked out help or seeked out a community or a friend to talk to and ask what on earth do I do with this? Um, they helped me a lot. So I would say this my whole journey through being pretty gay and now being very stable and feeling happy in all of that and still evolving.
Mhm.
Um, it's just the resilience, but also the resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that I was resourceful and that in the whole process I developed a really deep connection with spirit and the ancestors, and they guide me. My intuition guides. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. What do you wish you had known that you want others to know?
Mm. I think, yeah. Sorry, that question has me stumped.
That's okay. Take your time, and or mm, whatever is real. This is real, and I'm
What do I wish I knew that others, okay.
or like maybe if this frame shifts it a little bit, like, I don't know, if you could go back and tell your like teenage self or whatever, younger self something, like what would you want to offer them?
I think for me, it's really go towards people who are going to uplift you
Hmm.
and who are really going to support you, and who want the best for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. Sometimes it can be difficult to discern
Hmm.
that. Um, so always trust your intuition as well. Never doubt that. All of us are psychic.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So
Side little question, right? Because like you and I know have deliberately, each in our own way, spent many years developing that. But like, how do you experience, like, sort of physically, for instance, like how do you experience your intuition? Because I know there's things in me that are tells that I actually have different, like, physical feelings, to listen to. Is there anything particular for you?
so I definitely have empathy. So sometimes I'll be especially in my early teens,
Hmm.
I felt a lot of different emotions.
Hmm.
And psychologists would maybe call it one thing, but but sometimes emotions for me would be very heavy and deep and a lot. And for me, it was important to um, ask myself, is this my emotion or is this someone else's?
Hmm.
Is this my vision or is this someone else's vision?
Hmm.
Who Don't be afraid to ask your body and ask your intuition for clarity, because
Hmm.
sometimes you may get those intuitive hits and it may not make sense. It
Yeah.
may be like, oh, I'm driving down like the other day, or on the way here, I was speeding down the highway and all of a sudden I heard this voice tell me, slow down.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, that's not my voice. That it
Right.
sounded like someone else's. So I slowed down, and lo and behold, a few kilometers forward, there's a police officer.
Yeah.
So it was my intuition telling me to slow down so you don't get the ticket. Um, that's, but hey, your intuition's out there to serve you and no one else and to
Yeah.
help you grow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's a
yeah.
good point to say, like, oh, when you we're feeling something intuitively, that we can, and we're not sure where it's coming from, that we can ask our intuition, can you please, like you said, can you please clarify this for me?
And favorite colors as well. I know colors for me help a lot. So if I'm feeling disoriented in my energy and all over the place, wearing a favorite color of mine, like turquoise or purple or blue or something like
Yeah.
that, I just find it really aligns everything and it just makes me feel happy again. So something small like that can
Mhm.
do it can have a big impact on your energy.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Um, okay, final official question.
Okay.
And again, all these questions sort of have overlaps to them, but two parts. What has integration looked like for you,
Mhm.
and like up to this point? And what is like a next step on your journey? Like, what are you leaning into or wanting to deepen or explore for yourself?
Mhm. Again, and I think, sometimes when we experience trauma, we can get fragmented
Mhm.
and we want to, um, there's so many survival coping skills that we develop over time.
Yeah.
So for me, a big part of coming back to myself again was keeping practice with music, with my voice, with meditation, but also seeking professional help when talking to a therapist, talking to a counselor.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes I talked to ones that didn't fit me, and then when I did click with people, it was wonderful. Um, so for me, that really helped because just having that other party there to validate and help me reframe what I was going through, it was really positive for me because it really helped orient me.
Yeah.
And
Wonderful.
also working with deities.
Uh-huh.
um, you know, I don't say her full name because I believe she'll then come, but Yaga, she's been there, they are.
I wore my earrings for you.
Like this goddess for me has really been monumental in helping align my energy and take anything that was fragmented and help me come to a place where, oh, this is where I need to go now. Um, so for me, my next steps are definitely very entrepreneurial. I'm hoping to expand my business, Music and Soul, music therapy and wellness services, and my little plug. And
Totally. Yeah. We're gonna put in your website. We're gonna do those things. So all the way.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of that has been um, in motion, developing programs and proposals for people.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, I think some other big dreams and moves are to find my own place here as well, move out of my roomie's place. But yeah, and also just really trying to stay calm throughout everything that's going on in the world. Um, a concept that I've been really trying to hold on to is anchoring my light. How
Mhm.
how can I anchor my light in a time where everything's
Yeah.
feeling very chaotic? And I just asked myself, how do I do that? And the answer is always stay true to yourself. If
Yeah.
you stay true to yourself and what you want to offer to the world, a lot of the time you can feel grounded in that.
Yeah.
And also, I do my best not like, I sometimes check myself when it comes to how long I'm on social media. I find, and also if I get angry over some little post that someone posted and I'm getting really irate about it, I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be upsetting me that much, but it is. Let me sit with it. And yeah, and I'll either do a music improvisation or some smoke cleansing, and yeah,
Awesome.
it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. For people who aren't familiar, smoke cleansing is a non-appropriative term for what people often say saging, but saging is a practice that's particular, to the indigenous people of North America, and sage, the plant itself. So smoke cleansing is the same idea, but with different herbs for different practices that are non-appropriating. So thanks for mentioning that. And yeah, it's really helpful. Smoke cleansing is a really helpful practice. Any last things you want to share, say?
No, thank you. Thank you. And I think at the end of the day, for whoever's watching, it's just important for you to, I don't know you, but I love you anyway. And I'm sending you, Ursula, and everyone watching good energy and good vibration. And I've been saying a lot of, may you stay well, healthy, and safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I'm receiving that myself as I navigate my own waves, as we're all doing. I will write them down after, but tell us you have a website for your practice?
Yeah, so the website is music-soul.online.
Online. Good. So I'll make sure to put those in the notes, but people, that's easy enough to hear. And then your handle on TikTok, where you have sweet music and psychic offerings. What's that? Remind me.
Yeah, so I think I don't remember my account number.
I can look it up. I'll look it up and put it
My
in.
TikTok and my handle. But you can tune in usually every Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Those 3 days, I'll either do a musical meditation or share, and then Wednesday usually I do a tarot share. So I'll tune into my intuition and my guides and your guides, and just see what message needs to come through.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Good. Okay. So I'll look that up after and put it in the notes. So if anybody wants to come find you, but thank you. It's so great to I can just feel you just like in yourself. And I just love it. Like, yay. And we need embodied people. We need heart and grounded people. We need queer people in all kinds of spheres.
Yeah.
Because of the way it opens the lens for more people to have permission to be themselves. So I'm so glad that, all of the pieces of you are, come together in this way, and the offerings that you're bringing to the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So if anybody's listening and you want to come tell your story, I'll put the link in there so you can check it out. And of course, please share these. We want them to get to as many people as possible. Let's see.